Welcome to Over the Falls podcast with myself, Dave Lewis, Med Rendell, and Luke Dukes Jones. The premise for this podcast is to cut out the stigma that men don't talk, to try and support each other, sit down, chat, and try and put the world to right. Initially, we will be picking a subject at random, but as we go further along in the podcast series, we will be introducing guests from the local area, nationally, and who knows, even internationally. So here we go. Okay, here we go. Over the Falls podcast number 6 with our very first guest, Lee Coulson. Just want to give a quick little introduction to the listeners of who you are and what you do. So currently head coach of Aberystwyth Basketball Club, which you co-founded in 1992. Since then, you've been awarded quite a few awards and accolades, which include you were an Olympic torchbearer for the London Olympics, Ceredigion Active Volunteer of the Year Award, Coach of the Year Award, Transforming Lives Award. You've received the British Empire Medal in recognition to voluntary coaching and inclusive approach to sport. And you also won the Community Coach of the Year Award by UK Coaching. Not bad.
Thanks for inviting me, guys.
Some good stuff, that is, Lee.
Hell of a boy.
Yeah, that's
and
a lot
I didn't know a lot of that.
You didn't know a lot of that. I think the first question is then, how did it all start with basketball? That's where I want to start.
Okay, so this what you're doing with the podcast is all about honesty and transparency, and I got to be honest, boys, I was absolutely crap at sport in school.
Okay.
I was the one who always got picked last. Playing across the fields, across the way, it was always like, well, we'll have him because he's last to be picked and stuff. I was like, oh man. And that was my whole childhood, really, coming last and everything. Didn't really do any sports. Then when I left school, Mr. Duggan, our PE teacher, if anybody who's listening remembers Mr. Duggan, he was a hardcore PE teacher, man.
We had him.
Yeah, like if you forgot your kit, you're doing it in your pants.
Yes.
That was like, and he was the inspiration behind me starting my journey, to be honest.
Okay.
Because in my report he wrote, Lee's pretty much pants at everything. I mean, he was quite formal, apart from basketball where he shows skills. So I was like, I'm actually quite good at something.
Nice.
So when I left school, there was no leisure centre in Aberystwyth, so I used to travel to Machynlleth. And that's when I started, and then as soon as the leisure centre was built, 92, 93, myself and Alex Manlugtau, I'm not really going to say founded the club, but we were basketball players who got everybody interested. I think I've coached.
So was there any basketball at all in Aberystwyth at the time then?
No, there was none
Nothing
at the time.
At all?
No, there was a gentleman who's passed away who was, again, very inspirational for my journey, Mr. John Murphy. So he started back in Aberystwyth way back when, before I was born. But he, due to his work, he didn't carry it on. So it was up to me and Alex to sort of pick it up, and just, there was nobody else to coach, so we just wanted to play.
And what was the sort of, I don't know, did you get many people involved initially, or was it quite hard to get the word out that there was now a basketball team, club? I mean, what was...
Well, Alex already had the sort of members there. So Alex Manlugtau is from the Philippines. He's hardcore basketball player, hardcore coach. So, I was absolutely bricking myself when you get this guy. And I was just somebody who travelled to Mach with a ball and thought I was in the NBA, Jordan. He was like, oh, you play basketball? And I was like... yeah, kind of.
I try.
We became really good friends. Yeah. Used to play in lunchtime. And when I say we went on our first coaching course together when I was 17. So that's 30 years this year.
Yeah.
But it was just a level 1. That was just so we could get the ball rolling, really. And it was just a group of us playing ball. And that was kind of it for about 10 or 15 years.
Oh, that's really cool. I mean, because everyone around here just sort of either goes down the football route or the rugby route, I guess. There's not... you get the golfers and things like that, but it's just, basketball is quite niche, especially for a small town, and you've obviously done really, really well out of it, professionally, like really successfully with what you've achieved, obviously with the awards and everything. So yeah, fair play to you. It's impressive, especially from a small town. You've done a hell of a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been a tough journey.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I can't sit here and say it's been easy. I don't know. I guess my volunteering hours turn into probably tens of thousands of volunteering hours, and it's only been in the last sort of 6 years where I've been able to make a part-time sort of living out of it, and that's thanks to the support of a lot of people, including children in need and other grant providers. It has been a tough journey, but basketball is probably one of the biggest sports, but also one of the most diverse sports.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter how big you are, what colour you are, anybody can play the game.
Just need to be a human being.
Human being, ability, disability,
So,
whatever. Anybody can play the game.
Yeah. Okay, and then you got into the disability side of things as well. How did that come about? As in,
man, that was a crazy set of circumstances. I'm not going to lie. When I think back now, I guess it started when I was 18. I went off to the States, to Camp America. Awesome experience. I know that some of you guys have travelled. It was amazing. And I was just fortunate because I didn't really know where I was going to the States. And I ended up working on a camp, a Ronald McDonald camp. And it's not where you go to eat burgers. It's a camp for kids with cancer and leukemia.
But they fund it, I'm guessing, do they?
Fully funded.
Yeah, McDonald's paid for all this
it was the most
stuff,
amazing experience of my life, apart from the birth of my daughters. It was absolutely fantastic. And I did that 2 years. So the following year I went back, and some of the children were no longer with us. They had terminal cancer from year one. So that was kind of tough. But they have this big bonfire in memory of everybody. It was amazing. And that's where I first, without knowing, worked with people with disabilities, because it'd be like single leg amputees, single arm amputees, but they were just people.
Yeah,
they were just people.
Of course, yeah.
And then I used to travel down to Cardigan to do some coaching, and there's a young man there called Max in a wheelchair. Did a bit of one-on-one. So I contacted the local disability officer at the time, but there was no sort of provision for it. Sorry, we've only got one person. Back in the day, a lot of disabled people were hidden away. And it wasn't until really 2011 where the local disability sports officer said, "Oh, would you like to, get introduced to wheelchair basketball?" And that totally changed. That's when I became a coach.
You think that's what that was?
Yeah,
that
100%.
moment
In
2011.
Yeah.
So almost 20 years into my journey. I wasn't a coach before that. I was a basketball player who,
So what
coached.
changed there then? What was it?
I think it was somebody saying, "Oh, you're not just a basketball coach. You can coach anything." So as well as the wheelchair basketball, I started coaching what's now called the Mighty Ducks Disability Sports Club, and it totally changed my philosophy, because at first I was shitting myself. You got all these disabled people, and you're like, "Oh man, what do I do? I just coach basketball."
Did you feel like an added responsibility?
100%. I remember it. I was so nervous, and all these kids running into you, like, "How can you?" And it goes against all the rules that you follow. You're not supposed to, and you're just getting bombarded. And it was just an amazing experience. And then I thought, hang on a minute, this is what a coach is. This is what inclusion is. This is what everybody needs to learn. Everybody, run of the day, people need to learn.
And you enjoyed that straight away, like the passion was there straight away.
Hooked.
Obviously, yeah, I can
Amazing.
imagine. Yeah,
Hooked. It was totally mind blowing. The world of disabilities. I mean, many people fear, which we might speak about later, speaking or working with people with disabilities. But when you start, it's, what you get back off it from seeing their faces is priceless.
I guess it's that, isn't it? Amazing reward from, yourself. You're getting an amazing reward from teaching.
Yeah, you're providing something. I mean, especially in Ceredigion, where the provision for a disability sport is very, very poor.
Yeah.
You're providing an opportunity for people. If I didn't do it, the chances are it wouldn't be done.
Yeah.
So you're
I can
giving
imagine.
these children the opportunity to do what regular kids do.
What everybody does,
non-disabled kids do.
Yeah.
And parents, the feedback that you have of parents, seen parents in tears. I can't believe that they've done this. Can't believe they've done that. It's amazing. Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. So more recently, then, I mean, with the Commonwealth, did some of your team members do anything with that recently? What's happening with that? Is that?
Yeah, for sure. So as you mentioned, I was fortunate to carry the Olympic torch. 2012. That was again, you know, I was nominated by a club member, which I didn't know nothing about, so I was like top secret. You know? You have to keep everything hush hush.
Yeah.
And then of course I passed over to Chris Moyles.
Yeah, I remember seeing
that was
photos.
awesome.
I wasn't there. I remember
I made
the
sure I
photos
shook
of
his
it.
hand. I was like, yeah, you're right, Chris, mate. So yeah, that was cool. But recently with the Commonwealth Games, I got a bit emotion because I think it was 5 members of my basketball club carried the Commonwealth baton.
That's amazing.
So it brought back all those emotions of me carrying the Olympic torch, and now
Yeah.
I bet.
the kids that I've coached, and 3 of those were, 3 wheelchair basketball players and 3 running basketball players would have carried the Commonwealth baton, but one was ill on the day.
Okay.
Sure.
But amazing.
Yeah.
That was just, I looked there, I was like, wow, guys, you know, take this all in. It's once in a lifetime opportunity.
Well, it is, isn't it? It's a hell of a thing to do.
But amazingly, you've been partly, like, mainly responsible for that even happening for them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So as much, sorry guys, I don't like to. As much as I don't like to say it.
Yeah.
I'm saying it in like awe because I didn't know. I've known you for ages, but I don't know a lot. It's partly through my ignorance, mate. I just don't look at social media a lot, and I don't.
It's not on social media.
Oh, there we go.
One of the things that I don't do, and lots of people say you should do, is promote Aberystwyth Basketball Club as much as it is. You know, we're probably one of the biggest clubs in Wales.
Yeah.
If we take, you know, if we talk about the club, you know, the youngest we coach or can participate is 2. As soon as they're toddling.
Yeah.
As soon as they can walk, they're in there.
Right.
Multi-skills.
Wow.
Yeah. But the oldest, pre-COVID, I was coaching a young man called Ken in Lampeter, who's 92.
Wow.
Amazing.
You know, so I'm going from 2-year-old teaching them fundamentals, and then I'm going to a 92-year-old and I'm reteaching them fundamentals of what they learned when they were kids.
Yeah.
And that was really surreal, because you think this man has, you know, seen world wars,
so many
and
things,
so many
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm treating this guy obviously much more respect, but I'm teaching him the same as what I'm teaching the 2-year-old.
Yeah.
How to catch again, you know, how to bounce the ball, how to
Coordination and
and it kind of reiterates how short life is.
yeah.
You know, because as you get older, our, you know,
Eyesight
basics,
goes.
go. And,
Everything goes to pot,
you kind
really.
of like, you know, you try to get up in the morning, you're like, you know, this is hurting and that's hurting, and
Yeah.
you got to learn to catch again, you know, and some of them in their head want to run. You know, so you got this guy who's 92, so his mind's telling him, you know, I'm going to do 100 meters in like 12 seconds.
Yeah.
And his body's like, you're going to do it in like 112 seconds.
There's some limitations.
Yeah, whoa,
Yeah.
Ken, slow down.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but in a great way,
Yeah.
in a rewarding way. We were the only club in Wales to have 4 walk-in basketball clubs.
Amazing.
That's
So
brilliant.
the only area in Wales. Yeah,
The only area in Wales.
the only
does that.
area. There's no other walk-in basketball in Wales.
That's brilliant.
That's another feather in the cap,
Yeah.
I suppose. Another
Yeah.
really good
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Talking about sort of ages and stuff, and Med touched on it then when he said, sort of 2011, you said you felt like you sort of became a coach at that point then. But I remember thinking when I was driving over here that the first time I met you, my mum was working in the Ideal Bakery, and I think maybe my nan.
Yeah.
And then I was playing basketball in my garden, and my dad had put like a basketball hoop up on the back of the wall out back. And then my mum said, I work with a guy called Lee, and he plays basketball. And I'm pretty sure that's sort of how I met you. And I can't really remember how young I was, but I remember being pretty young.
I think the 3 of you all came to basketball because you guys were all in the same sort of friendship group. So
Definitely.
it was, you know, our friend Andy Ryan,
Yeah.
Michael Jones,
Yeah.
and you
Cal
guys
as well,
So I think
and-
there's pictures of you all playing, and yeah, you're absolutely correct. I worked in Ideal Bakery with your mum and your nan,
Yeah.
working nights, crazy, and
Yeah.
so what I'd do is I'd work all night, 12-hour shift, and then I go to bed, then I get up, I coach basketball, then I'd do it all again, and that was all. Well, I said coach, I played basketball. I was a player who coached
Yeah.
until inclusion, and then I became a coach that played.
Hmm.
That's the way I look at it.
Gotcha.
Well, that was probably early 90s though, wasn't it? Or it felt like it was early 90s because I don't think I was that old. Or maybe mid 90s.
Yeah, so no, it would be mid-90s,
Okay.
I'd say.
Yeah. Okay. So I would have been an early teenager maybe.
Yeah, so I think it was 92 we formed the club.
Yeah.
But I think yourselves, because the chairman of the club at the time was he's still an amazing man. Tony Brown, Paul Brown's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I
We all
remember
know
taking
Tony.
trips up to Manchester. He was like, there's no smoking, and you
Yeah,
guys are
yeah.
10. No smoking, no drinking. Yeah, make sure you sit on your own. It was
Legend. He
Yeah.
used to terrify me.
Yeah.
He used to terrify me. Because you guys knew Paul a bit more than me, and
Yeah.
the first time I was introduced to his father, I was like,
What
oh,
a
and he's
hero.
just so blunt. Like,
Yeah. No filter, but I love Tony Brown.
Yeah, Tony.
love a bit of
Brown,
Tony.
yeah,
He's great.
I got a question. Like, I think I noticed straight away that you seem quite modest. You don't like talking about your stuff. I can see you were quite uncomfortable the way when I was reading out your awards and things. Then, do you get a time to sort of sit back and reflect at what you've actually achieved? Because just reading that out then in the space of like 30, 40 seconds, it's pretty impressive. And do you actually look back at what you've actually done and go,
Never.
fucking hell, that's quite impressive?
No.
Or do you always just head
No,
on?
I always. I don't like looking at what I've achieved, I guess. And it's a bit crazy because people go, "Oh, you should. You've done this," and so many people say, "Oh, you're amazing. You're a real people's person. You can coach anybody." Yeah, I can coach anybody, but just because I've received an award for it, I'm not going to change anything I do. I don't need to stand at the top of Aberystwyth town and say, I've done this, I've done that, as many people do. I was, really privileged, and honoured to carry the Olympic torch. That just totally blew my mind. But on the same note, when I received the UK Coach of the Year award, it was down in London, and you're with all these top athletes. This is, huge. And, it came on the screen, and they do a bit of a video, and you're like, oh, shit, I can't watch this bit. And one of the guys that was up in my category was an amazing coach who coaches hundreds, if not thousands, of American. And I was like, this guy has to have this award. I'm sitting here regardless. I'm from Aberystwyth. Look, Aberystwyth, we can't even find it on the map.
Quite happy with the day out.
Quite happy with,
Free dinner.
Yeah, a bit of salmon,
Yeah.
and free wines, which was awesome. And then, when the guy called my name, I was like, and I'd had a few glasses of red wine, because I thought, there's no way I'm going to win this award. And, you have to go up and do your...
Try and do a speech.
Yeah, you're trying to do a speech, and, you're holding on to stuff to so you don't fall over, and then you're whisked out the back for an interview. And
Brilliant.
I think... my kids get the interviews up on YouTube and stuff, and I'm like, turn it off. I don't want to see it. I'm not one. I'm always looking for the next goal. So one of my next goal is I'd like to coach the Great Britain Special Olympics basketball team.
Wow.
That's my my personal goal, or my coaching goal.
That'd be amazing.
I don't see how that won't happen.
How far off do you think you are?
Well,
from
the
that?
World Games are next year in Berlin, and I was all ready to apply for the position. I've been coaching the Special Olympics Welsh team for 2 years, and it's in Germany, the World Games, and they've decided World Special Olympics that Britain they're not having a quota of putting in a men's team, so they're putting in a women's team, but for this World Games we won't be having a men's team in, which is crazy because we got gold in the last World
Does
Games.
that also mean you can't coach the women?
Not that I can't.
Or not allowed
I wanted to coach the men's team because a lot of my players are at a level where they are world
They're ready to
class,
go.
in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go on that journey with them, really.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that can happen for you, Lee.
Yeah, one day.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And maybe when you're older, you can bask in the glory of all your amazing achievements. Do you know what I mean? Because you should be really proud of all the achievements that you've sort of done already. It's an incredible list of stuff. You know what I mean?
You've changed Ceredigion and Wales. You must
The amount of lives you've changed because of what you've done. Voluntary.
Yeah. Yes.
It's not like you're sitting here saying, "Yeah, I'm on 100 grand a year."
Hang
I'm
on,
doing
or did
this.
Mr. Duggan?
You've done it for nothing, really.
I think one of the greatest things we can do in life, and when we come on to mental health, is give back.
Yeah.
Kind of my story goes, why I've done what I've done, I guess is down to my struggles with mental health since I was young. So that's how it all sort of really snowballed, should we say?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask sort of when you think that sort of started? You say you sort of like touched then on when it snowballed. Do you remember like one maybe instance that happened when you struggled?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I'm I'm happy to share which we're all here today to sort of break that stigma that men don't talk. And when I just agreed to come on this, I said I would open up. And I think I was 17, 18, maybe 19. I can't really remember how old I was. I was involved in a RTC crash. Swiss motorcyclist decided to overtake, and he ended up dying. So there was a, court case and whatnot, and it was tough. Yeah, it was tough. Time to go through, and I found myself in bed for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't get out of bed. Didn't want to live anymore. Somebody had died because may or may not have something I could have done. Didn't want to live, and then a good friend of mine, and I'm happy to share his name, Nick Williams, come and basically dragged my ass out of bed and said, this isn't your fault.
Yeah.
You need to carry on. And at the time, he was heavily involved in the basketball as well as being a friend. And Aberystwyth is a small town. You're always worried about what people say. But the basketball club to me was, I guess, a godsend. The support that I had.
Yeah.
Going through it, nobody judged. Everybody said it's okay. Everything would be fine, and all the way through the court cases, which was driving without due care and attention, or careless driving. I think I can't remember that far back. You kind of block everything off, and you guys touched on it in other podcasts.
Yeah.
But that's, I guess, when it really started. When I thought, okay, basketball has saved my life because I wouldn't be here. I probably would have done something. I just didn't want to live. And I decided that thanks to the sport, I was just going to kind of carry on.
Did you seek sort of any professional help or anything like that at that? I know you said that your friend Nick sort of got you out of that hole, we should say. Did you seek any sort of professional help?
No.
Nothing?
No, there was no support because you're not the victim per se. The victim was obviously the poor motorcyclist who passed away. You're not kind of offered that support. I was fortunate that my uncle was a police officer, a traffic police officer. So he kind of came around and was like, the worst that can happen is you're going to get 6 months inside, blah, blah, and of course, your life ends then, isn't it? I don't want to live anymore. Everything's in the newspaper about you, and the camera news back then was really thick, and everybody read it, and everybody, you walk down the street and everybody's kind of pointing. I was found not guilty. The motorcyclist was speeding, and the collision, he collided with his bike, which caused him to pass away rather than the collision I had.
Mm-hmm.
But you never, even when I drive down that road now, to get over it, I drive past the same gate post, and it's a dead straight road, and it always goes through your mind. Always goes through your mind.
I bet.
And that's when I decided that, whatever happened, I was going to stick at this sport.
Fair play to Nick to supporting you and dragging you out of bed. So thank God for him, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and he physically dragged me into the shower. And he's like, you are, you're coming out. It's like my birthday, and I just sat there. I didn't drink, but he was the one who was instrumental in getting me out of the house.
Everybody needs sort of people like that around them, or you're fortunate to have those sort of people around you, if you know what I mean.
It takes a strong person to do that, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it does.
Yeah.
That's why I'm
really
saying
does.
that. So
it takes a strong person to almost, say, everything's going to be all right. Blokes don't talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have covered that already. Blokes don't talk. The percentage of guys that don't speak. I think I read a statistic. It's something like 40% of men don't suffer with mental health, but they don't talk about it. 40%.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
They'll talk about everything apart from that.
Oh yeah.
Everything else.
Just skip straight over.
Yeah.
Over the top of it.
It's almost, sorry to go back to your previous podcast, where it's fear, isn't it? You don't want to feel weak.
Judged.
Pride.
Pride.
Yeah.
Us men are the cavemen, innit? Where you bonk someone on the head and it's that.
Make fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's right. And the one thing I have learnt to do is talk about mental health as it's gone, and it's not been easy. Since then, I've had counselling for anxiety. So, 2009, there was another set of circumstances where there was 3 health issues, I guess, that came up around the same time. So my father had a brain aneurysm, which he thought was food poisoning from eating seafood. So he had a brain aneurysm. Within the same 12 months, I lost a little boy, and also then I had a DVT, which the hospital didn't pick up. Deep vein thrombosis, all within 12 months. And that's when the anxiety just hit peak. People who suffer from health anxiety. Back in the day, it was called hypochondria. Yeah. Oh, yeah, something wrong with you. That's
Worrying
hypochondria.
too much about, or that's what they deemed it to be.
Yeah, hypochondria. You're a hypochondriac. My mum used to say to me as a kid, you're just a hypochondriac. We heard it all the time back in the day.
Do you think possibly because of that time that we're experiencing the knock-on effects generation-wise?
Without doubt.
It's got to be, isn't it?
Without doubt.
The ripples are still kind of going on from your parents' generation and your grandparents' generation, and it's going to take a while for those ripples to sort of like fade out, I think.
Mental health, they didn't know what mental health was. You go back, what am I now, 47? You go back 30 years, they didn't really know what mental health was.
No.
You know, you're just psycho, you're just, you don't understand.
30 years is not long.
No, it's not.
I mean, how long were they literally like shocking people's brains?
Well,
it's an electric shock therapy.
Yeah.
I don't know how long ago it is, but it's just mental to think that they did do that. You know, where they put those things in the mouth, bite down on that. We're literally going to shock your head, and somehow they thought that that's going to sort you out.
Or just fill them full of drugs.
Yeah.
Just keep them quiet.
I think they still kind of do that now, though, don't they? I don't know a lot
It's
about it,
not,
but I think they do now.
I've been fortunate with disability sport. I kind of learned. I've been on a lot of CPD. The one thing I really want to do is learn.
Yeah.
Never stop learning. I say any advice I can give to anybody listening or watching is
I think it's
don't
great
stop
advice.
learning.
Good advice.
Don't stop learning about whatever, makes you tick. If that be a sport, then go follow that. Just follow it. You don't have to do it, but follow it. Whatever makes you tick, don't stop learning.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that I really get that makes me tick really is inclusion in sport, learning about people. Like any of the people I work with with disability, I'll never ask them what's wrong.
No.
What's your disability? I'll never ask what your disability is.
Yeah.
Just getting you.
I remember one parent, she came in and with a daughter in a wheelchair. Okay, my daughter can't do this, she 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 can't do this. So I said, okay, what can she do? Because it's not about what anybody can't do.
Yeah.
It's what can they do? And she's one of the biggest success stories that I've had coaching. There's been a lot of influences to schools, people she's been involved with, but she's gone from being in a chair, she's profoundly deaf, so couldn't communicate with anybody. Imagine that, a young teenage girl can't communicate with anybody.
Must be so difficult.
She's got an intellectual disability and a physical disability and profoundly deaf. And now I don't do any sign language, but we communicate through our own sort of sign.
You bonded
and stuff that I've learned. So, if we're playing Baby Shark, I'll shove my shark fin above my head, and she tells me she'll see me next week, and
lush.
we have
that's
these,
really nice.
and it's just amazing. And she's walking around, she's running in the games. She's just an amazing. That's just one. We could go on for hours.
So just going back to what you were saying there. So obviously there was that tragic set of circumstances which started your mental health issues off, and then you said you started with anxiety then because of those 3 separate instances in that one particular year. Are you still struggling now? Would you say to this day? I mean, how would you sort of manage it then? Because obviously you're very, very busy. Is that one of your coping mechanisms? I think is
to keep
my
busy,
question. Yes.
For sure. Yeah, and that's anybody who suffers or who wants to get through mental health. Anything that you read up, it's like to keep busy.
Yeah.
To do something. To work. I can remember, guys. I remember sitting there when it was really bad, my health anxiety. I remember sitting there, and fortunately, I've got an amazing partner. But I was sitting there, and I literally felt like I was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
So I had a twinge in my knee. My head would tell me you've got cancer of the knee.
Yeah.
Okay, so that then turns into, oh shit, I've got cancer. I've got to go and do something. Before you know it, you've got pains in your arms. You've got people like, oh, you're full of shit. I'm not lying.
No.
That pain it manifests. It is real. And so many people say, nah, I can't. I'm telling you, it's real.
From anxiety?
Yeah. So not so long ago, earlier this year, I was going through, again, a bit of a low time, should we say. And I was overthinking. I had pains under my arms. And I was overthinking, oh, no, there's something wrong here, overthinking. And I finished basketball. And I'd lost my cool with somebody in basketball. We'd had an argument over the doors being open or something to do with the floor. And I got
condensation.
home. Yeah, condensation. I got home at 9:30, and by sort of 10:30, I was in A&E, and they did my, they do your basics in it, and they're like,
oxygen and
shit. get him straight in. So remember now, this is anxiety. At the time, I didn't know. I actually thought I was having a heart attack. So I go in, my heart rate's all over the place. They can't even think. I'm lying there. They stick those sticky pads which pull your hair off. That's a pain in the ass. Like it's taken me 47 years to grow this hair. Stick them all over you. And they're there, and your heart rate's going. They're like, right, we're rushing you up now for a CT scan. I was like, oh shit, I'm dying. So I'm lying there and I'm going. I haven't even said goodbye to my children. That was going through my head. So you go up to CT scan, and the guys there were just epic. They're like, you're all right. Can't. Your blood pressure's really high. It was off the chart. Da, da, da. CT scan downstairs, around 7 o'clock in the morning. Sort of your bloods and everything come back, and they're like, everything's okay. And it's as if somebody turns a light switch. That's the only way I can explain it.
It just leaves you just
bang.
Is that the same thing? I don't really know. Is that the same thing as a panic attack, or is that
Yes.
is that essentially
a panic attack?
Panic attack?
Yeah,
is
panic
the same.
attack. I believe is part of health anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. I see these people blowing into bags.
Oh, they definitely are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're real. They're real.
My mum suffers from this. She could be sitting watching TV, and maybe something will happen on the television. She has a panic attack.
Yeah.
And it could be like she sees a hedge that reminds her of something.
Oh yeah. Like, I can't watch Casualty.
And
I can't watch Casualty.
What? Because it brings back that particular memory?
Yeah.
Or,
I cannot watch any paramedics, any of that. I can't watch anything to do with sort of
the inside of
hospitals.
hospitals.
And hospitals don't really bother me going in because they're my safe place. You're there, I'm okay.
Yeah, I know.
And you're in the best place to be if you've got any sort of issue, innit?
I mean, guys, look, it goes back as far as my daughter was probably 2, so I'm going back 12 years ago. I flew to the States, so I've got family in the States. And I was gone for 3 weeks. And it wasn't long after I had my DVT. So what happened with my DVT was I was in a cast from basketball, obviously.
Yeah.
And it was in a cast for 2 weeks. And what the doctors didn't tell me is keep your ankle moving. So because your calf acts as almost like another heart where it pumps the blood up. So I didn't keep so I just lay there, whatever. And then I wasn't feeling too good. And I had these cramps in my calf. And I was like, oh man. So I went to Bronchitis Hospital and they were like, there's nothing wrong with you, get to physio. I was like, my calf's turned blue. And then I kind of drove myself to Shrewsbury Hospital. And they went in and they were like, I took some bloods. And in the bloods, you have something called a D-dimer, which they test to see for clots.
Okay.
They were like,
Is that the one you can sort of see on the screen if it goes through your veins and everything?
No, that's ultrasound. But this is an actual blood test. So the first thing they do is blood test.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? And then if it comes back positive D-dimer, then you basically have an ultrasound.
Okay.
So I sent the blood, so I'm waiting and shit and stuff. And it was really hurting, like chronic cramp. Even when I elevated, you can get rid of cramp. Really weird pain, and my leg was cold. And what they say with a blood clot is usually your leg's hot, which is kind of crazy. So I'm sitting there, and he comes back and he says, your D-dimer's come back positive. We're going to send you for an ultrasound. So I was like, oh, what does that mean? Oh, you probably got blood clot. So what's the first thing you do? You get on Google. It's your best friend, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Well,
no,
yeah,
it's
not really.
Never ever
Come on,
Google
guys.
your symptoms.
You've talked about this.
Done it.
Yeah.
Done it, and I'm now.
Yeah.
I know not to do it.
But when you're suffering
It's
from
like-
health anxiety, Google is your best pal. Because you don't want to go to doctors, you want to do Google. And what you find is Google always tells you you're dying.
Well, yeah, that's the problem.
It don't matter.
If you say,
Always tells you you're dying.
I've got a headache, I'll just Google headache.
Yeah.
There's
bad.
all sorts of
Yeah,
stuff in
it
there.
goes
So
number
many
1,
things.
migraine,
It's
number
like
2
the worst thing.
number 3, cancer of the brain.
Brain and
It's always cancer in it, right? Okay, yeah, my toenail's hanging off. Number 1, you've had injury. Number 2, cancer of the toe.
Yeah.
And whatever happens
Leprosy
on
or
Google,
something.
So everything tells us not to Google. But when you have nothing else, you resort to Google.
Yeah.
So I'm in Shrewsbury Hospital, it comes back, ultrasound, you got blood clot. I said, well, bronchitis told me to go to physio. I said, whatever happens, don't go to physio because that clot can move, go up, give you a pulmonary embolism, and you could die. So I've gone from having a pain in my leg to you're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that just escalated my whole
I
health
bet.
anxiety.
I'm getting sweaty palms just listening to
Yeah.
it.
So going back to my
I am as well.
America trip, I went out to States, was there for 3.5 weeks, and I spent all this money going out, dead excited, gets out there, and I don't know if you know, but when you fly, you're at higher risk from...
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
because they always tell you...
You've got to keep walking around.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
moving.
so I'm hydrating all the way, I'm drinking like I'm pissing, I'm drinking, I'm pissing, all the way. Get over there, go to my friends, start having chest pains. Shit.
Just out of the blue. Just
Out of the blue. As I landed.
In America?
Yeah, in America.
Yeah.
Landed. No, we got our insurance, boys. And we
Good. I was thinking that.
Yeah, you
Have
got
some
insurance.
insurance.
Yeah, got insurance. So you land. Pains. I'm sitting here, dead comfortable. You know, I miss my family. Yeah, pains. Shit, they're getting worse. My pain goes from my chest into my back. I'm like, shit, this is Google. Shit, this is pulmonary embolism. And it's fortunate that my cousin or my family member out there works in a hospital, Ocean County, New Jersey, brilliant hospital. So I'm like, right, I've got to go into ER out there in an ER.
ER.
Mm.
And in I go, and I'm like, okay, any previous medicals? Yeah, DVT. Oh, shit. Right, so they were like, bang, in you go. I had my own room, big TV. I was like, hell yeah. So I went in at 8 a.m. 8 a.m. So by midday, I'd had an MRI, I'd had a CT scan, I'd had an ultrasound, and I'd had all my bloods, and I had a $6,000 bill. And I had the all clear.
Oh, hang on. You were insured though, right?
Yeah, I was insured.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the insurance don't pay, do they? They don't. I don't know if you know, but if you've had
I don't know. I assumed they would pay.
Oh yeah,
I
they
just
don't
remember
go.
E11
Oh,
forms.
so what you have to do is show them all your insurance form. Then they're on the phone to you. So each step of the way, they are kind of liaising with your insurance. But the bill is, and they still give you the bill to take back because you have to pay like almost like deposit, I guess.
Deposit of a big
Chargeable.
bill.
It's probably one of the worst countries to have health anxiety because you'd
Oh,
be
for
pretty
sure.
bankrupt pretty quick, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah. And I feel
Because you're getting
for
charged
everybody.
every single time you go into the hospital or
Yeah.
doctors
I think I heard
or
it was like
wherever.
11 grand. I don't know whether this is dollars or pounds. It's like 11 grand for an ambulance.
Oh yeah.
Just to get
that's
called an
fine.
ambulance.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
And then like a pregnancy or a C-section is like, yeah, through the roof.
Yeah, it's crazy. But on the other hand, I have to tell you guys, the health care I had over there
Yeah.
was out of this world.
I guess maybe they have a little bit more money in the pot to sort of pay their staff, I guess, better because maybe there's a bit more money going around, if you know what I mean, in that private sector of healthcare.
11 grand for an ambulance would get you that
Yeah.
extra person.
Yeah,
shit.
and maybe more money for training.
Yeah, and
and everything.
you know, and that's a whole other debate, I guess.
Yeah.
But the moral
Yeah.
of the story is, 8 a.m. I go in, you know, with a chest and back
Yeah.
pains, midday. Oh, you got the all clear. I walk out, and this was in sort of, I don't know what it was, day 3 or day 4 into my holiday, so I've lost 4 days. And then I walk out and I have an amazing holiday and I don't get any pains. The
Just
doctors
all-
give you injections before you fly out, so I took every precaution it was. There was almost no chance of me getting a...
Yeah.
But this, my mind
Yeah.
told me
Yeah.
I was dying. There was something happening.
But then all those tests they did, and that sort of like sounds like quite a good high-tech hospital. I guess that put your mind massively at ease if they did all of those tests on you and they were like, you're
Yeah,
okay.
you're
and I
fine.
bet you thought, thank you.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
you
it
sort
was.
of
I couldn't praise
relaxed.
them.
And then
Yeah.
that was probably a good feeling. And yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was just another example of how health anxiety manifests.
So have you been, I don't know if diagnosed is the right word, but is that what you have been told by a health professional, or is this something you've
Decided on.
Well, when you
Yeah.
go to the doctors almost every other week,
Okay.
they kind of, you know, they're really good. I can't knock. I'm in a local doctor's surgery not far from here, and they're absolutely fantastic. So they don't come out and go, oh, you've got health anxiety. It's not like that. They tell you where, you know, this is what we think. This is how you.
Yeah, okay.
This is how you can help. So I was then referred for CBT. I said, I want support. I want to get through this, and that's cognitive behavioural therapy.
Okay.
In an easy way to understand, it's a form of counselling.
Mm.
Yeah.
But they help you understand how your brain works. And I haven't really read since I was in school. And one of the things somebody said to me, oh, you need to read the chimp paradox. I don't know if any of you have.
Yeah,
I've heard of it.
I've read it.
It's just wow. That's
Incredible.
just- yeah.
You're basically telling that alter ego of yourself to shut up.
Yeah. And
Is
it's
it-
tough.
It's really hard. It is really hard. But the
great
way
book.
this Professor Steve Peters,
Yeah.
I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So interesting. It's a
Yeah,
hell of
and
a book.
then somebody also brought me the book. It was called Stop Worrying, Start Living.
No.
And that's all about, like, and you look through it and there's these amazing people that you've heard of, and they've all suffered with anxiety of sort.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's
You know?
important to always remember that as well.
To
Yeah.
They're still
normalise
human
it.
beings.
Like, in a way, like that a lot of people do.
Even
suffer
right.
in it.
I don't like the guy much, But Justin Bieber, yeah, his career, you know, whatever, he's a big famous guy. Obviously, if you listen to this, you know who he is. But like, he's had that thing with his face, isn't it? Like, where he thought he was having
one
a stroke
side of
and
his
like
face was.
like he must be going through a lot now, because loads of his image was part of who he is, and you know, like just on that level,
But,
another human being.
You know, if you take a step back, what you guys are doing here with the podcast is amazing. And what I wanted to I've never really asked myself the question, what is mental health?
That's a good question.
What is mental health? So I kind of did a little bit today, and one of the things I came up with on mentalhealth.gov, which you've mentioned, I believe in your previous, was that mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. And I went, oh shit, man, that's okay. That explains a lot.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah,
it does sort of make
everything.
sense though, because if you're super stressed or depressed or down or angry, I mean, you're going to act totally different than if you're, I don't know, if you're in your happy place having a beer in the sun with your friends. Like it's just, it's obviously going to affect you massively, or it seems to me like that it would, isn't it? You know, your mood
definitely.
or what you're going through. If you're happy, huge difference.
And I guess people are trying to disguise it as well.
Pretending that you're happy
in the mix.
Pretending that you're happy, you're not happy.
So your head's just, I guess, just doing that.
So I guess
all day.
You need to know that sentence. You need to
That's
know
really
that
clever.
definition.
Can you say that again, Lee? What was it?
Yeah, mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act.
Yeah.
Now, I bet anybody listening to this, anybody watching this, if you actually sit down and listen to that sentence, just put it into Google, mentalhealth.gov, our best friend Google, but it's a great statement. You actually think, I think a very high percentage of people listening to this and watching this will now go, oh shit, man, perhaps
Penny's dropped there, yeah.
the penny's dropped, perhaps I am or have suffered with mental health.
Yeah.
And at the time didn't really know it and didn't do anything about it. You've got to do something about it.
Yeah.
You've got to talk. You can't keep it in.
Yeah.
It's like a champagne bottle, you know, shaking a champagne bottle before you
Oh, definitely.
I heard something interesting the other day as well. I can't remember who told me. I mean, it might have even been one of us in this room, but someone was sort of explaining mental health to me, and they were saying, like, you know, you look after your body, or at least you try and look after your body, and then what you're putting in your body, say like diet, and you try and look after it like that. So you're looking after this sort of like machine, I suppose, but they don't really look after your sort of brain or your mental state in the same way, if you know what I mean. So you're really sort of taking care of like your arms and your legs and the sort of mechanics of your body, but then you're forgetting to sort of exercise
your mind.
Your mind. You know what I mean? And people say obviously it's like equally as important as to looking after I guess the health of your body, say the health of your mind. And I thought that's quite crazy.
Because we don't know, do we? It's the unknown. How would you know? We weren't taught in school that we were taught to keep fit. You got to pee, right? Well, the curriculum changes that come this September. It's now changing to well-being.
Is it?
Is that right?
Yeah, for sure. So,
wow.
So I'm fortunate.
Instead of physical education.
Yeah.
No way.
Well-being. Yeah, it's all about well-being. And Penglice, well, all the schools will be doing, but you know, I've been fortunate to work with a local school, Penglice.
Yeah.
And it's talking to children about, as well as doing the PE, the physical education, talking to children about talking about mental health. It's about sleep, nutrition, hydration, but also
recovery time too.
Yeah, they're bringing in yoga. They're bringing in all the things that. Okay, I still think a whole nother debate, but I still think it's a bit late in secondary school.
Yeah.
We really need to push this, you know, in Wales, in primary school.
I think they're doing it a little bit in primary school. Like I know in the school that my kids, and I know your kids as well, Dave, they sort of do some things like yoga and things like that. Or I've heard that they do, and sort of my eldest is 5, like Dave's eldest is 5, you know.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that.
No.
I don't know, it's a bit of a naive statement or not, but do you think that's, in primary school, do you think that's a bit young to start talking about mental health? Because that might...
You don't have to speak about mental health.
No, but hang on, no, just, what I mean is that they may be absolutely fine, but to put that into their head at that age, they may go,
So
what is mental health? Okay,
Could manifest in a worry. And then,
yeah.
great
Do you know what I
question.
Mm-hmm.
So do you teach your kids to brush your teeth?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, keeps your
It's a
teeth
habit,
clean.
right? It's a
It's
habit. We do it for the rest of our life.
Yeah.
So if we were all taught at a young age just how to do, so you don't have to say
Okay.
it's mental health. We could do mindfulness. Everybody
Yeah.
knows the 1 minute, 3 minutes, 4 minutes of mindfulness. Instead of we're all guilty. Who's a parent about going? There's the iPad. We're all guilty of it, innit? Now, wouldn't it be great?
Buy yourself 5 nice minutes.
Oh man! Or you go and
It
sit
goes
on,
10 minutes.
yeah, you go and sit on the toilet to escape, like.
Yeah.
But we're all guilty of it, right? What if we turned that time into a thought? Because mindfulness can be fun. It's not all this, zenning out and stuff. Mindfulness can be fun, and if we taught that at a really young age, it becomes natural, and all of a sudden our young people, so it would grow with them as they get older.
Yeah.
So if somebody would have taught me mindfulness when I was 13, 14, 15, and it just becomes part of your daily routine, like brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, then I'd be like, and most of the kids you speak to, the secondary schools group, actually quite enjoy it. Some of them are like messing
Like
around
that,
mental health bullshit, and they're normally the ones that don't understand, or they fear what's going to happen with mental health. To go back to my mental health journey, you asked sort of what other things, did I seek help? Reiki was really good for me. There's an amazing...
Which one is Reiki?
Yeah, what
is that?
Okay, so Reiki's kind of... it freaked me out, guys. I'm not going to lie.
I thought that was a person's name. What?
Somebody said
Never
to
heard
me,
of that.
it's kind of... look, I'm not even going to go into the details because I don't even know. That's another... Look it up, all right? It's all about...
Google.
They don't even touch you, right? It's not like... So you lie there and it's dark, and your Reiki healer person like kind of goes under, and they put their hands under your head. Then they go around. They might put a stone on top of you and stuff like that. When I was going through anxiety, a friend of mine said, "Go and try Reiki. Try this. She's amazing in town. If you want to go into town, she's fab." Went in and man, like I've never done any types of drugs and stuff, man. But this blew my mind. I was seeing like colours and all sorts of shit going on, and my first session I literally sat up and just burst into tears. It was just full on. It was like somebody had we talked about the champagne bottle. It was like somebody flipped that, and it was just pure emotion. And she hadn't even done anything. She doesn't even speak. It's all very I don't want to use the word spiritual because she'll probably give me a row if I use that, but it's very deep. And then my second time I saw some funky meerkats and stuff. It was really totally.
Are you sure you didn't?
Yeah, I didn't.
Sure you didn't lick like a toad or something?
No, nothing. I was.
You had a cup of tea when you went in.
Man, I tell you, it totally. You just feel like you're on another plateau.
Wow.
And I would recommend it to anybody who is suffering with, and is open to alternative healing.
I was going to ask you actually your sort of tips on dealing
and
with
your coping mechanisms.
and your coping
really,
mechanisms. Yeah. So
Mhm.
Reiki's definitely one by the sound of it.
Reiki, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Being active as well by the sound of it.
Yeah, I've struggled with being active for the last 10 years. We spoke about this before going on. For the last 10 years, I've been telling myself.
Or busy, sorry.
I've been telling myself Monday morning I'm going to start eating healthy, and I'm going to start running for 10 years. 10
That's
years.
quite a long time for you to tell
And I'm like,
yourself
yeah,
you're
Monday
doing it.
morning I'm going to, and all the time.
Diet starts Monday.
Oh, no, it's
Yeah,
Monday.
Diet starts Monday, and as you can see, I haven't stuck to any of it. And on Sunday, we'd been out on the beach and stuff, and I was like attempting to run, and I was like blowing up my ass, and you're supposed to be. People look at you and you go, "Oh, you're a fitness coach," da da da. And so you got to have it. You got to kind of look.
Yeah.
You can't be this guy rolling around. So I've just been fortunate. You talked about your metabolism. I guess I've been a little bit fortunate, for my age.
Yeah.
But now when you get moobs and stuff, you've got to do something about it. So on Sunday I was driving back. I was on my own, and I said to Siri, set my alarm, 6 a.m. Monday I'm going to start. But I did, man. I got out, and
Well done.
thanks to listening to your podcast, I got out and I smashed out 2 miles. But I have walked for many years. I've been walking the same 2 miles just to clear my head in the morning.
I bumped into you a couple
good.
of times when I was on the beach with the kids. So this is kind of where you touched on it, that you were struggling, and I could almost sense it a little bit that was your little routine to sort of get your head
Yeah, and if
I
I didn't do it,
straight. Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's just me or if it is for anybody who suffers with mental health, but you almost can't turn your brain off.
Mm.
So from the moment your eyes open, I don't have any problem sleeping. I know you spoke about your issues with sleeping.
Yeah.
Man, if I close my eyes now, I'd just be out. I've been fortunate working nights and shifts and whatnot. I can sleep anywhere. If I'm driving, I get tired, 20 minutes, bang, I'm gone again. So I've been very fortunate with sleep.
Well, that's great.
However, when my anxiety was peaking, I could not switch my brain off. It was as if somebody was turning a little handle on the side of my head. I just could not switch off. It doesn't matter what you tried to go to sleep. Affirmations. I've tried everything to try when you're in that state of mind to try and get to sleep, and you just cannot. You cannot.
That's how I got into podcasts. Is that reason? Just
that.
so my brain would go somewhere else.
Yeah.
If from the stress of the day, stress of whatever it is, my brain would actually listen to something else, and that would be, I would just find myself dropping off. So that's why I listen to loads of podcasts because of that.
Drown everything else out. All the other distractions and the stuff going on in your brain, and you can just concentrate on one thing.
One thing. So, sorry, mate.
Sorry.
Basically, if I can't find my headphones now before I go to bed, I go into a bit of a, where are they?
Bit of panic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like my teddy bear.
Yeah.
Almost, isn't it?
Blanky.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I have to have them before I go to bed because I'm worried that if I don't have them and I wake up, say like in the middle of the night, for example, my mind just goes.
I've listened to either music or an audiobook to go to sleep since iPods were invented.
Since I've known you've done that.
I've never not.
Yeah.
Sleep is the only time. I'm very fortunate. I don't ever remember suffering with nightmares. Very, very fortunate.
Okay.
I think the last nightmares I had is when I had my car accident. Then I remember.
Totally understandable if you're going to get some sort of night
reliving it over and over and over again. But since then, I've been very, very fortunate that I don't suffer with nightmares. Sleep is my happy place.
Nice.
Which is kind of crazy because we talk about, or you've said how many things I've achieved, but sleep is my happy place because when I am sleeping, I'm somewhere else and it's not a bad place. And my brain switches off. I'm on this amazing journey during my sleep. Then I wake up. The moment I wake up, not panic, but it's like, I've got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. It's almost like spinning plates. And I was talking now, I go to acupuncture. If we go back to healing, I make sure I have acupuncture every month. Every 4 weeks. I go to town and I have my acupuncture. She puts one in the top of my head, which is called your blowhole, like on a whale. It's on my head, in your hands, legs, knees.
I'm very interested in that.
Does it hurt?
No.
I'm very interested in that.
No. I would recommend Reiki for sure as your first port of call.
Yeah.
Do you know what the crazy thing is? You can't get any of it on the NHS. It's absolutely mad because I think so many people would, be able to get through things with this, alternative healing. But acupuncture, again, the first time I said, can I try it, please? My dad had it before his brain aneurysm. I said, can I try it, please? One in the head, there, my leg, they were all over me. I was like Edward Scissorhands, sort of hell.
A little pin cushion.
They were all over me. And again, that was like somebody had released, she says, the one at the top of the head is where all your emotion comes out. And it was, I just full on just bawled my eyes out.
Wow.
And it was pure release. And I went on Monday and it was the first one I'd been to where I was actually, you know what, and I think it's because I'd started running. It was where I felt, actually, this is just, she was like, you look like you're going to go to sleep. I said, this is just total bliss.
Yeah.
Absolute bliss. I would fully recommend it for anybody who's going through anything. You know, who's going through absolutely anything, or even just wants a way to chill. Acupuncture.
I'm such a dinosaur, as in, you know, all this sort of like, in my head, it's bad me thinking about it. It sounds quite like new age, like hippie-ish, but I know that I'm a bit of a dinosaur in terms of this because I've never experienced it, or I've never had acupuncture or Reiki, or you know what I mean. I've never like.
Why would you?
Yeah.
You wouldn't, would you?
Yeah, I've
You're
never.
trying everything because you've got.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, I understand why you're going through those
and
avenues.
If you,
yeah,
you know, Bruce Lee. My mum, for whatever reason, she reckons she named me after Bruce Lee, so I was kind of grew up being a fan of Bruce Lee.
That's amazing.
Yes, nuts, isn't it? And then my middle name's Thor, and I'm like, I don't even want to go down that route.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's actually true.
You know
I
what?
don't believe that.
I
I don't know whether I do.
knew
Thor
that about
Coulson.
you.
Yeah.
Thor as in the god of.
Yeah.
You're going to have to see a driving license after this, because I don't know.
How have I never known that? I've known
I've
you
never
years.
known that.
No, if I ever got pulled over, the police are
known
like, "What's your name, Lee? What's your full
Thor,
name?"
mate.
Lee Coulson. That's it. They're like, look at it, and they're like, sneaky laugh.
I'd be hamming that up. I'd be saying my name's Thor. I'd be like bringing that one out.
It's like McLovin.
So yeah, my biological
Just
father
Thor,
was
like Seal.
was a massive fan, of like Marvel, I guess. I don't know.
Wow.
Thor, so yeah, after the God of Thunder. But yeah, going back to it, acupuncture goes back thousands of years. You know, the pressure points on the body. Martial artists use it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know. It's
Read
like
and all the
it's
rest
really
of that.
it's really popular, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
I guess it's like those sort of like I don't know like Eastern medicines or alternative therapies, alternative medicines, all that stuff. I don't know. I'm just such a
You
dinosaur
mean like
with
the
that stuff.
Glimmer
you
Man
know?
where he eats deer penis and that's supposed to like
Yeah,
make you feel.
or he's
Look,
grinding up some
I
bones.
don't know. I don't know much about it, but I know how I feel after I've had a massage.
Oh yeah,
Just that's all I'm saying.
Oh no, a
Oh, that is
massage.
Quiet room.
I love a massage.
Quiet room, no like loud sounds, and someone just massaging your head. Is one of the best things.
Well, I was talking-
yeah, massage. Yeah.
One of the other new therapies coming about, and this is new from what I gather. I went down to visit. I'm fortunate to mentor, and I'm happy to share his first name. His name's Sam. At the age of 16, he's 6'7". He's walking home, and his legs go all funny. Lies down, can't move his legs. So he's rushed into hospital, and years later, not being able to move his legs, finds out that he's had a spinal stroke.
Whoa.
Crazy, but what an amazing young man. So I went to visit him yesterday. He's borrowing a wheelchair for another young man I work with. And he was saying there's a new, I think he called it almost like hydrotherapy. But what you do is you go into a tube and the water makes you float. And then it closes out all of the sound and all of the light. If you've watched the movie Daredevil with Ben Affleck.
I haven't actually. I don't know.
I've seen the
Okay, you
series.
got to watch because again, when you watch certain movies and some of the CPD have been great to be on some courses, but movies often have hidden stories away. Avatar's a classic example. Why did they make the guy in Avatar be in a wheelchair? Now watch it again and think about the whole movie, looking at it from the guy of being in a wheelchair. You know,
Well, his dream would have been to run. And,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So there was a hidden
I've
story
never seen it.
behind
Sorry,
all of
never.
that, and that in one of my courses, you know, we had a great tutor who was talking about that. But going back to it, in Daredevil, this guy, do you know, he's a superhero, he's blind.
Yeah, totally
Yeah.
blind.
Yeah, he's totally blind, but his
He's
super...
got
it's
huge
like Bat.
senses, isn't he? Yeah.
So what he does after he's been in a conflict or whatever fight, he goes into this, it's almost like a coffin.
Like sensory deprivation.
Yeah, that's
that
it.
sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So he just lies there, and there's no sounds. You cannot hear. It shuts out the total will. So he's just lying in water, and you guys have all surfed, so
Yeah.
you know just alone what that does for you, how that makes you feel.
I
Can
love
you
the
imagine?
sea, but
Yeah.
I think that sounds horrible to me.
Yeah.
You know, like in a coffin, being in the water,
I'm not
and then
saying
all
coffin,
silent.
but-
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A capsule or whatever.
But how many times have you like
But-
lay in the bath and put your ears underwater?
Yeah. To be honest with you, I
Yeah.
did it in the sea earlier for about 5 minutes.
Mm.
Obviously, we're really lucky where we live, and the
Yeah.
sun
Yeah.
it's like summertime now. It's absolutely beautiful out there. Straight after work, wetsuit on, just lay in the sea for 5 minutes. Put my ears on my back. Absolute bliss.
Yeah.
Makes you feel better going in the sea, doesn't it?
Oh my
I
god!
love going in the sea.
Just clears your head.
Yeah.
So I get that.
Yeah. So yeah, he was talking about that. He's had a tough few years where been diagnosed with a pressure sore, down to his spine. So, we're talking 4 or 5 centimetres deep, down to his spine, and a piece of his spine snapped off and come out for his pressure sore. So he had to lay on his front for 18 months.
Oh my,
that's horrendous.
God.
The guy, and I was supporting him as much as I can, phoning him to try and pick him up, and after he finished counting dots on the floor and the ceiling and whatnot. Great young man though. He will, hopefully one day he'll be able to come onto one of your podcasts and talk about his journey. He suffers mental health very similar to myself, so as soon as I see him, it's like a massive hug, and I'm like, how are you coping? I'm having up days, down days. Yeah, I know that feels. This is how I cope. This is a book. I've given him books, and we share experiences, I guess.
Wow. Yeah. You said, well, obviously one of your coping mechanisms is sort of like, it's keeping busy, isn't it? And I think a lot of people probably share the same sort of coping mechanism of keeping busy, but sometimes it seems like if you're so busy, I think it does go hand in hand with having children, and you feel like you haven't got a lot of time. And people talk about, like, in inverted commas, like me time, or having a little bit of time for yourself, which could be really good for your mental health. But I think a lot of times, particularly when you have children and you have a full-time job and maybe you're coaching, and like your time is really divided up to loads and loads of things, and it's like, I think some people, including myself, find it hard to find the time to do things for yourself, if you know what I mean, because you're a very, very busy person, like a lot of other people are, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, hopefully the guy I'm going to speak about next, will listen to this podcast. His name is Darren Carew, one of the most remarkable people I've had the pleasure of meeting, and if you ever want to chat to this guy, he's the inclusion officer for Welsh Rugby Union, and Darren's got a fantastic story. He was in the military, his vehicle got blown up, he got all his men out, got back, and he suffered for many years with chronic pain in his legs, and he made the decision to have his leg amputated.
Wow.
And when I first met Darren, I was a guest speaker on his inclusion group, and since then we've become really, really close. We're like two peas in a pod, the same way we coach and whatnot. And him and I are very similar. We want to do everything for everyone, as much as you can. Keep him busy for everyone, but you forget about yourself. And I'm sure he said, we are the most selfish, selfless people there are. And I get my head up, you know what, you're absolutely right. And sometimes, for Darren and myself, we've had this discussion, it does impact our families. When my anxiety was at a high, I would be in bed for, be nothing to be in bed for 2 days straight.
You got a family at home?
Yeah, cry my eyes out. My partner was amazing, just huge, massive rock. She would be, making sure I'm okay, and if I was, I would just burst into tears, sobbing, and she would make sure that at that point that the kids wouldn't really, so when I was not crying, then they come in and, are you okay, Dad? She would just say, I'm not very well. Yeah. Rather than say, Dad's in there crying.
So, you say that the coping mechanism for you is one of them is being busy. That is actually like a hindrance as well, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because, as Luke said, there's no me time.
No.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was. Yeah, you're right. That's what
you're basically just on this conveyor belt, just non-stop.
Yeah, I have learned.
And there's no real, you're not taking your foot off the gas at all. So then you've got the stress of as you said, you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh my God, I've got to do this and this. It must be like that every single day. So you are basically flat out. Your brain is flat out.
It's like a catch-22, isn't it? You need to do loads and loads of things to help you. Yeah. Yet that's maybe being slightly detrimental. It's like a catch-22.
100%. Yeah. 100%. I do, and I know you're going to look like I'm a bit crazy, but one of my releases is my partner's brother-in-law and we started going on once a week onto the PlayStation. Right? We were playing again.
Release, isn't it?
What would happen is I'd find myself not thinking about... So before I would go on, I'd have really bad chest pains. And it's crazy, right? Because this is a coping mechanism, right? I'm not telling everybody to go on PlayStation, but before I'd go on, I'd be all day suffering chest pains. I'd go on, we'd play for, say, hour and a half. Well, at the beginning, it was 2 or 3 hours because I was crap. And then you go on, and then I go, oh shit, I've had no pains for the last 3 hours. So then you start telling yourself, hang on a minute.
There is something there.
There's something here.
Yeah.
Because I just switched brain off, or I thought about something else.
I think it's just escapism, isn't it? Like you can have a different avenue for escapism. It could be going outside, or it could be playing a computer game, or it could be just like what Dave does with the podcast. He wants to switch all that sort of background noise off and just concentrate on one thing, like a computer game or something.
And it gets more difficult, guys. I work with many disabled people, and one of the facts, I didn't know this fact, but I wanted to share this with you. That one study found that 54% of people with a learning disability have mental health problems. 54%.
Huge,
and children with learning disabilities are 4.5 times more likely to have mental health problem than those children without learning disability.
So that's on top of already the
and
disability.
the provision for activities for people with disabilities sporting in this county and maybe further afield is poor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they need it probably more so.
More. Yeah. The facts are there.
Yeah, than anybody. They need it most.
Yeah,
realistically.
The facts are there.
But if the likes of yourself wasn't around, there'd be nothing.
No, because people are scared. Look, you've spoken on most of your podcasts. What mental health is about fear, isn't it? What's going to happen to me? Am I going to die? Fear. One of the great sort of YouTube clips I listen to on my walks. It's crazy because we talk about getting active to help with your mental health, but it can also be really dangerous because if you haven't got anything to listen to, what you start doing is thinking.
Yeah.
So I found before I was listening to stuff, I was thinking, oh, that person said this, I've done that, I've done this, that's hurting now. Oh, my knee's hurting, my leg's hurting. Okay, my knee's hurting, that pain is going to what? And it escalates.
Yeah.
So I shoved my earphones in. It's what who said, Med? You said shove my earphones in and then listen.
Yeah.
And if you ever get the chance, listen to or Google YouTube Will Smith on fear, where he talks about getting like wasted in Dubai basically, and they're all sitting there like, yeah, should we go and jump out of a plane tomorrow? And they're like, yeah, my
Next
dad
day.
was in the SEALs, and all night he worries, he's shitting himself about, I'm going to jump out of a plane tomorrow. Oh no, they're bullshit, they won't turn up. Then you get the knock on the door. Oh man, and they're all in the car, and they're like, yeah man, they're all. And everybody's really thinking, shit, I don't want to do this. But nobody's got the ball. None of the men are going to step up and go, I'm absolutely
I don't want to do this.
shitting myself. And he talks about going all the way up, and Will Smith's a fantastic actor. He goes all the way up, he talks about right to the point where you're at the door, and he says, they count down 3 to 1, and they always jump on 2 because everybody goes to grip
exactly.
on the last one. And he says for that split second, it's pure fear. Mm-hmm. But after that split second, it's utter bliss.
Yeah.
To the point then where he took his sons out to do the same thing because he wanted them
to experience that.
So fear is what, kind of hits us all hard, especially mental health, I think.
Yeah.
You've done a plane, haven't you? Like jumped out of a plane.
You know what? I haven't. I went to New Zealand, which we talked about on a previous podcast, and I did some other things because it's like renowned for extreme sports, but I never jumped out of a plane. No, I've never done a skydive.
I've done it.
Yeah. So
You've done it?
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I can still remember the exact feeling of the fall. I can vividly remember
incredible.
what I saw and everything. It's like a lift drop in your stomach.
Would
It
you
is,
do it? Because I've never done it, but sometimes
I was on the
when you
hype train in New Zealand. Like it was like
sometimes
a
you
thing
get older,
you do.
and I don't know, you maybe worry a bit more and stuff. Would you do that again? And
Yes.
would you have any sort of qualms about doing it again?
I'd do it again.
Would you happily do it again, like tomorrow, or in a week's time? Would you
I
just
think
do it?
things change once you've had kids.
Yeah,
I just think that now. I just think that if something was to happen, then that would have been a stupid decision just to go and have. But then again, you can't live like that either.
No, but I guess it's
So
relatively
balance.
Yeah,
I would call it relatively extreme, like going from a plane. But you are right in what you're saying. You can't just not do things because of the what ifs. You'll never.
What I was trying to do is I was trying to draw on the similarity. Like I was so scared going up in the plane because I hate heights.
Yeah.
Still can't walk across a bridge without shaking and stuff. But I was like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm with all my friends. I trust all these people. These people obviously don't kill people every fucking day. They're not like mass fucking serial killers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I thought for one weird moment, I thought if I die, it's going to be fast.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to fall to the floor. But as soon as I tipped, and I think his name was Pierre. He was on my back, the Swedish guy. I was just like, I can't believe I'm doing this. It's just so good. And when I got to the floor, I couldn't stand up for about half an hour. My adrenaline was through the roof.
I bet you were buzzing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's how I'm feeling.
And the feeling of that letting go. It was just.
Oh yeah, being in the moment.
So yeah, Will Smith probably had go skydiving, I guess, if you can.
But you're right though. My bamper used to say the sound of the battle is always worse than the battle.
Oh yeah.
Because that's in your head.
Yeah.
You know.
We're all guilty of overthinking, aren't we?
Oh, massively.
100%.
You know, you talked about because you have children. What if? But you could go now, and a drunk driver could come along and just back it, and then you've done it. So we have to live.
Yeah, of course we do.
You know, Denzel Washington, I listen to on my walks. He does a great motivational speak, and he says, you know, you're always told have something to fall back on. He said, no, that wasn't the way I was going. In my eyes, I was going to fall forward. Whatever. Don't be afraid to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fall forward. If you don't fail, how are you going to learn?
Mm.
Yeah, and he just goes on about, you know, failure is good. Don't fear it. Our children now, and the younger generation, as they go through school, you know, my daughters are petrified of standing up in front of a class. So I ask them, why are you petrified? It's not about what they're going to say or forgetting what they say. They're petrified about what other people are going to say.
Yeah, the judgmental angle or what they're going to say behind their back.
I've been through that recently. I was the first ever time like a best man, and it was for my stepbrother's wedding. I'd sleepless nights. Like, if I thought about it before bed, I was like, oh my God, I've got to turn the volume up tonight. I just couldn't switch off. And then on the day, it's just easy. It's just
a couple of beers out there, doesn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But it happened so naturally, and everybody in the room was just like really nice. It's the fear that your daughter feels. It's like, what are they going to say?
Yeah.
Or the worst case scenario, your brain is probably going through almost the worst thing that could possibly happen.
Absolute
on that
turmoil,
day. Yeah, but like realistically, that isn't going to happen, is it? Like the worst thing ever is not going to happen.
Yeah, unfortunately, fortunately, sorry, I don't know which way is the best. You know, when you receive those accolades, the majority of the time you are expected to say something.
Sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they call your name, right? And you're like, everybody's like, yeah, and you're going, oh shit, I've got to say something.
Great, I won.
Fear.
Mm-hmm.
Pure fear. Now, and I don't know why, because I could talk for Wales.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know why. I don't actually know why.
I've got work
But it's
tomorrow.
the fear of what if you say something wrong, or what if. But we shouldn't feel like that. And now I kind of go, you know, I'm here today sitting with you. I was excited today to come here and speak to you guys. It was a whole different. And you know, as I've spoken in more and more, I'm proud of what I've achieved. But I also know that my knowledge now is far superior than it was years ago. So I don't fear speaking in front of people. But if I say something wrong, it's like working with people with disabilities. Yeah, you LGBTQ is a classic example.
Yes.
You don't know how to refer to people.
Yeah.
You know, he, she, them. Okay.
Pronouns.
Yeah. All that.
Bit of a
you touched upon this.
maybe.
No, I don't think
not
we have.
really. No.
We don't. I think we're a bit scared of that subject at the moment.
And so many people are.
We don't want to. I guess we don't want to. You know, we don't want to really sort of offend.
I don't
people,
want to offend anyone through my own ignorance.
Yeah.
Like all the information's out there.
So it's fear.
Yeah.
It's fear of not knowing. And I was exactly the same. So I was fortunate to meet people, and we had this whole discussion. And the best thing you can do is say, "Can you help me?
Yeah.
I don't understand this." And you know what? It is the feeling you get when people go, "Okay, you know what? This is about this. This is about this." But you have to have the balls to basically, to say, you know, can we have this discussion? You know, let's talk about your journey.
Yeah.
You know, where have you been? What's all? You know, and it's happening a lot more in children now who are saying, well, actually, young children, you know, primary school age even. I know of, you know, in my field, I've come across a lot of people who have said, oh, so-and-so at this age, maybe 9, 10, 11, has decided that he wants to identify as she.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, and everybody, oh, what do we do? What do we do? but if you just ask questions. There's so much help.
Of course.
I like that as well. When you sort of get comfortable with like your profession, or it's fine to ask for help. I can teach my kids that as well. You can't know everything. You're never going to know everything.
No stupid questions, like some people say, isn't it? I think that's a good word. Don't be worried about asking something you don't know.
It's as a collective, we all like make the best of it, because I know some things, you know some things. If we all put our minds together, we can.
Well, exactly.
We fill in the blanks with each other.
Yeah. And,
that's how we grow. But we need to talk about it.
Of course.
Keep talking.
Yeah. And it's nothing to be ashamed of asking for help, especially like the mental health side of things. Nothing to be ashamed of asking for help.
No.
One of the bravest things you can do, I think, is ask for help.
Yeah.
Having someone to speak to. And I've listened to your podcasts, and it was quite amazing how close you guys are. And obviously, I know you all, how close you all are. And you were like, oh, I didn't know that about you. Yeah, I didn't know.
Well,
that's bonkers. The one thing I do very well, I think now, is I do have, a few people, depending on what my anxiety is, a few people I will say, and they are always more than happy to help. Oh, don't worry, come on, let's talk through this step by step. And they listen.
Real slow.
And if somebody comes to you, best thing you can do is listen. I'm fortunate that I've met a lot of people who've been through a lot of things. So, Dave might say, I suffer getting to sleep, there are insomnia, but I say, well, actually, I know somebody who, and I would say 9 out of 10 times, and if I don't know, I'll say, oh, you know what, I get hold of my mate Darren, because I guarantee he knows, and it's giving that support.
Yeah, helping people,
giving that support.
Talking to people.
Are we all happy with what?
Yeah, I'm happy, but if there's something that Lee wants to talk about, I'm also happy to,
totally.
No, I think, I think we've covered everything. But the last thing I want to do is say, I got a little gift for you guys here. I had to bring it today, so make sure you keep this in a podcast. But there is.
What are these?
I know Med's a little bit more buff than you two, but I got these for you. So
thanks, mate.
So we talked about one of the clubs
my body
I had
image.
earlier.
My body image has gone through the roof.
You are now club members, honorary club.
Thank you, Lee.
Members.
Oh, Lee.
Aberystwyth Walking Basketball Club.
Amazing.
Very you can
much.
sort out sizes.
Awesome.
So when you're walking prom, walking pride.
Yeah.
But from my point of view, I just want to say you guys are doing an awesome job, and if there's any support I can give to anybody listening, just get in touch with the club, aberystwythbasketball@gmail.com. Email us. We've got clubs for everybody. We've got a women's club. We've got a walking basketball club. We've got a club for everybody. Wheelchair basketball isn't just for people in wheelchairs. We've got loads of people who are able-bodied. Just come along, just to exercise. You can exercise sitting down, man. What better?
Sounds great.
Sitting down.
The older I get, the better that sounds.
So I've obviously dabbled back in basketball now recently, and I've turned up because I love being early for things. That's just my nature. But I've seen the classes that go on before the intermediate sort of class, and it's amazing what's happening on that court. Is that, be it the wheelchair or the I think there's the sort of the elderly
mixed ability.
Mixed ability. That is amazing, because it's not a relentless fast pace, but it's like a pace that everybody manages, everybody respects, and it's you see the smiles on their faces, man. It is incredible.
But it has to be inclusive. Sport has to be inclusive.
Yeah.
I agree.
Has to be inclusive for everybody. And you have to come into a safe environment.
Yeah.
So what I teach my ambassadors in the club is fizz, fun, inclusive, and safe. You have to have those things. And it's kind of what we live by. Our vision, our mission statement is all about inclusion and just come and have a go. Nobody's excluded.
Yeah,
it's a great sort of motto, or whatever you want to say. It's a really good.
Yeah, well,
really
you get somebody, my kid's really naughty. Do you know what? There's actually no such thing as a naughty kid.
I don't know.
I disagree. In some cases, my partner's probably going to listen, so she goes, "You're lying." You know
who the naughtiest is.
What I'm trying to say is, if a child or an adult, for that matter, is behaving in a certain way, it's usually because that's stimulated by something. So if you can get years ago, if somebody had been acting like again, get out my car, get out. I don't want you in here. But it's not that. They come in there for a reason, usually not because the parents are forcing them, because they want to be there. So we have to understand why they're behaving that way.
Yeah.
And when we get to that, everybody's unique, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
We're all wired different. We're all different.
And that's it.
Yeah.
You have to, if I have 20 people in a session, they're all different. So I have to make sure that I hit every learning style.
Yeah.
Because Med, you might just be, I want to listen. That's how I learn.
Yeah.
Dave, you might be a visualer. You might be, I watch it. And Duke's is like, yeah, I'm just a doer. Yeah. Well, I've got to run a session that all of you can learn the same thing.
Yeah.
Using those styles. So am I going to write on the board? Am I going to show you? Am I going to let you listen to it?
You know what? I thought about this when you were talking about people with disabilities. I was thinking, God, it must be difficult to sort of coach a basketball team of, say, like able-bodied people, or however you sort of say it. But then when everybody has totally different strengths and different needs and everything's sort of different, then everyone's so individually coached then, yeah?
So to add to that, when you start, if anybody suffers with mental health out there, what they do say, and one coping strategy I've had is break things down into little steps. Okay, so you know that this is where I want to get to, and a lot of people just focus, I've got to get there, in 3 months' time, I've got to stop having these panic. Okay, little steps. Don't worry about 3 months' time. I've got to get through today. Okay, so if you put that to everything you do, so in a session, I take everybody individual, right? Okay, so we're all going to learn passing. Okay, what happens if you get somebody with one arm? Some coaches will be like, oh shit, he ain't going to pass, he's only got one arm. Or they turn up, or they're blind. There's no way he's going to catch. Well, yeah, actually, he can listen.
Yeah.
Think outside the box.
Yeah.
So, if I'm going to finish off on anything, small steps to get to where you want. So I told you I started running, and I was like, when I first started, I was like, I've got to do 2 miles, because that's where I've always walked. And then when I started, as soon as I started, I was like, I want to finish. I was blowing out my ass. But what I did is, there's lampposts all the way down the promenade.
There is,
So what I did for the whole promenade, all I've got to do is get to the next one.
Yeah.
All I've got to do is get to the next one. And then I found myself, I just smashed out 2 miles.
Yeah, boy. Yeah.
And to some people, they'll be like, 2 miles. I'm telling you, I've walked that 2 miles. You've seen me for years.
Yeah.
Especially since COVID. And now I can run it. That's huge.
It's massive.
And that's life. Small steps, guys.
Yeah.
Small steps.
And I do something very similar with long cycle rides. Like, I know my corners. I'm like, I get to a corner, I was like, there's my little milestone. There's that bridge. It's a little bit bigger, but it's exactly the same principle.
Breaking it down.
Break it all down.
Break it all down.
Chipping away at a big job, but just little goals all the way till you get there.
Yeah, till you reach your dreams.
Yeah.
Look, I never thought in a million years when I started that I would coach a Welsh team. 2011, I coached Wales versus England.
It's
And
incredible,
apart from COVID last year, I have coached a Welsh team for 10 years.
Yeah.
It's a great achievement.
No, it's really impressive.
Now that's huge. So I've gone from running basketball, so the Wales under 18s and 16 skills, over to wheelchair basketball. So they never really medalled. We ended up with a bronze in Europe. Then I went on to wheelchair basketball. They ended up with, I think, 2 bronzes and a silver. And then I was given the challenge for Special Olympics, intellectual disabilities. Took them to Nottingham to play against the English, and we smashed them and come away with the gold. All right, so, but I never thought in a million years a kid from Penparky who got picked last, would become one of the most successful coaches, possibly in.
There you go.
Ceredigion, I don't know what.
There you go.
So you can't. We've got to give all those people opportunities.
Yeah.
We've got to give those kids
living proof.
That kid there that is always getting picked last. I'm not going to mention the person, but there's a young man in my club now who's actually in the USA at the moment. When I first met him, I could see, I was like, man, you've got the best physique, you're big built, you're strong. I am telling you, you're going to play for Wales. He's in USA, he's playing for Wales now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's played in the States. He would never have dreamt, but I told him, and everybody else was saying, you can't do this, you can't do that. No, you can. This is it.
Plant and seed. Yeah.
So,
Lee.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, for being so open as well.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
Keep up a good work. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, that was really, really good.
Definitely.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Lee.
No worries. Thank
Cheers.
you.